Good afternoon, class. I'm glad and happy for those that are able to attend. I know the timing, the date and the times for a lot of people, being that it's Thursday in the afternoon. I try to pick, when I thought everybody, at least with dual enrollment, would sort of be out of school. Um, I'm recording this, so for those that are not able to be here live or to be here and come in and watch this at this point, you can pretty much watch it at any point because I will upload it and put it in next week's folder um, before I leave today. So after you final exam, it's basically your third exam, being that we are in our last unit, which is drama, dealing with Shakespeare's Hamlet. So the typical setup of your ProctorU exam is going to be 15 multiple choice questions. Now, I know you're going to say, well, there was only, roughly 10 questions on this particular study guide, which is true. But if you looked, basically questions 2 through 10, or there were a couple questions sort of embedded together. So what I suggest is if you're able to study this handout, if you truly read the play or as much as you could of the play, then I don't see where you should have too many issues with the actual exam. Granted, the exam is 1 hour, so once you hit begin, you're going to have to do the exam, pause it, and go, come back to it. The timer is ticking, so you have 60 minutes. Make sure that you save your answers and you save often, because if your time limit runs out and you didn't save anything, it's just going to submit a blank document and it's going to grade it as a 0. And since ProctorU, the college only covers one test per student as it relates to the cost, you're not going to be able to have that luxury to go back and take the test multiple times, because college just doesn't have the money for, if everybody had to take the exam 3 times over, they would go broke on the money they have for the actual fee for the testing program. So keep that in mind. I would only take this when you know that you're ready, that you can sit down, concentrate, be in a noiseless room where you can, sit there with your computer with the webcam and the web mic on, and you're logged into your ProctorU and Blackboard account, and you have 1 hour that you can devote to it without, having any distractions, phone calls, kids, whatever the case may be. Again, it's going to open up after midnight on the 4th of December, which would be this Sunday. It's going to remain open until December 12th at 6 p.m., which is a Monday. So December 12th at 6 p.m., that's pretty much the last time. That's when the exam is just going to be unavailable. At 6:01, it's shutting down. So everybody's going to have nearly, a week and a day to get this done. Now you can do the exam, especially if you've already read the play and you feel confident about the study guide. You can do the exam, Monday, December 5th, if you want, or Tuesday, December 6th, or Wednesday, December 7th. You can do it earlier. And then the only thing you would have to do is submit that research paper in, and you're done. Because once you submit the research paper and complete the final exam, that's, those are the only 2 assignments left in the course. You're done. So you can actually finish this class up, by December 8th if you wanted to, especially if you got other classes with other exams. Again, that's up to you. But the last time that you can take this is by 6 o'clock on December 12th. So I wouldn't wait until 5 o'clock December 12th to take it. Honestly, in case there's issues that go on, because again, once your time limit runs out, that's it. Computer issues on your end are not computer issues on my end. So make sure that your computer is working. Make sure all your updates are updated. Make sure you have stable internet connection, because you're going to need it. Because if high wind knocks your internet offline for 4 minutes, well, your time is ticking, and eventually, if you're not back on, it's going to knock you off. So again, if you don't think you have the equipment capable to do this ProctorU exam in a 60-minute time frame, I would go to the Coastal Pines Technical College testing site that's close to you. So if you live in Jessup, I would go to the Coastal Pines Testing Center there, or go to the library to see if they can help you. If you live in Brunswick, I'd go to the Golden Isle site. Waycross, I'd go to the Waycross. If you're close to Camden, I would come to the Camden site. But if you know that you don't have the best internet, stability, if you know that your computer's a little old, if you know that you don't have a working webcam or a web mic, because you're going to need to have those things on for those 60 minutes, looking at you take this test, then I would come to a Coastal Pines library or testing center so you can borrow our at our campus. That way there's no issues. All right, so let's get into this particular study guide. Actually, what I have here is I have the highlighted answers. That's really what you kind of need to keep in mind and study. I try to keep these, brief, within a sentence or less, so you don't have a whole lot to try to memorize, but you do have a good bit that, if you go through the motions and learn this stuff, again, it's multiple choice. So if you're able to see some of these answers within the multiple choice selections, you should be able to pick the right one, I hope. So if you look, number one, sort of embedded, there's a lot of basically characters here. So if you know the gist of what these characters represent and who they are, then you should be able to pick out some of the, the best suited answer from the multiple choice questions when you actually take your ProctorU final. So if you look, Marsilius, he's the first character to see the ghost, who is Hamlet's father, dead father. Hamlet is the first character to speak to the ghost. He eventually kills Polonius. So that's 2 things that you kind of want to keep in mind there when you're dealing with the character Hamlet. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are Hamlet's 2 best friends, who Claudius asked to watch over him, eventually tried to set them to do his dirty deed of trying to kill Hamlet at one point. Of course, we know as the play progresses, Hamlet was able to switch the notes, and that backfires on his two friends. His two friends actually are the ones that get killed. Yorick, again, as it gets closer to the end of the last act, we see that Hamlet addresses his skull in the graveyard. Ophelia is sister to Laertes, daughter to Polonius, and Hamlet's love interest. Again, there's some question about how much does Hamlet really love her? Is he really playing a mad character, a mad person? Is he really going insane? Or is he just sort of he's doing an act to sort of catch Claudius and some of his other evildoers in their act? I would, argue to say that Ophelia, as the play progresses, she's the only other female character really that has a big interest in Hamlet's life. I would say that she probably does grow sort of insane or gets a little crazy because, I mean, she's just surrounded by too many men. She's got the brother, she's got the father, she's got the boyfriend. They're each in her head at different times, trying to give her whether sound advice, bad advice, good advice, whatever the case may be. But, as it gets closer to the end, she just can't handle it anymore. Laertes is the brother to Ophelia and son of Polonius. He's the one that sort of puts the poison on the tip of his sword, and he stabs Hamlet with it at the end, right? So Claudius, king, uncle to Hamlet, husband to Gertrude. He is the one that killed Hamlet's father, his brother, to become king. Gertrude, mother to Hamlet, wife to Claudius, widow to the ghost, as you can call it, or Hamlet's father. You see that there's sort of a love-hate relationship after Hamlet returns back, begins to have this sort of nightly visit with his fatherly ghost, and realizes that his uncle basically killed his father and now is king and is married his mother. So we get Hamlet in this case. Again, this is going, as the play progresses, is he really turning mad? Because the way he treats his mother is really, I mean, it's pretty poorly. You got to wonder how much does Gertrude really know? I mean, Gertrude is never around when the ghost is around. So does she really know that Claudius killed her late husband? I'm sort of in the notion that she probably doesn't. So she's just going along thinking that maybe he died of natural causes or whatever it may be. Hamlet comes back into her life to try to help her grieve, but also sort of show her the errors of the way, or at least to try to show her the truth. But in doing so, he's really rude toward her, and you see a lot of that same behavior and action toward Ophelia too. Polonius is father to Ophelia and Laertes. Hamlet basically kills him. If you remember, he's sort of eavesdropping on Hamlet and his mother while they're in the bedroom. So number 2, what is Claudius's relation to Hamlet before his father's death? Basically, we talked about this, and most of you probably know this. Since the first act of scene 1, Hamlet, he's basically Hamlet's uncle. So which really makes this a dysfunctional family, to say the least. Scroll this or zoom this down. Ophelia's brother Laertes tells her what exactly. How does Ophelia die? Well, basically her brother tells her not to fall in love with Hamlet. He doesn't trust him. He sees that he's sort of a little bit unhinged. But basically he's trying to give her advice. Hey, maybe choose a different boyfriend to fall in love with. Eventually she commits suicide because she can't handle what's going on. So she drowns. Ophelia and Laertes' father Polonius is killed by whom and where? Well, again, Hamlet kills him as he's sort of eavesdropping behind some curtains in Gertrude's bedroom. So he thinks it might be the king. He thinks it might be his uncle, but realizes after he does the rash stabbing that it's not. It's actually his girlfriend's father. But you know, Polonius has had some issues with Hamlet, sort of all along, thinking too that he shouldn't be with his daughter. And a lot of that is too, if you kind of look at it, if Hamlet was to ever marry or have a little bit better footing with Ophelia, it means that Polonius, as even though you know Polonius is her biological father, would be losing a little bit of that control and power that he does sort of control over his own children. Um, so Polonius is sort of there's this jealousy as it relates to the power relating to you know his daughter, because if Hamlet was able to actually secure Ophelia in a marriage or you know a long-term relationship, Polonius feels like his power to be able to manipulate her and control her would be lessened to some degree because Hamlet would be there more than her brother and Polonius. Hamlet's father is killed by whom? Well, I mean, again, Claudius, his uncle, basically kills his own brother to be able to get to become king. And again, he marries into the family by marrying the widow here in this case, Hamlet's mother. When the ghost appears the second time, for whom does he ask to see? Well, he wants to see Hamlet. Basically, it's father and son here. The father has sort of a mission or a task for the son to do, which is, if you look at number 7, the ghost asks Hamlet to do what exactly? Well, avenge his death by killing his brother, Hamlet's uncle Claudius. Why does Claudius send Rosencrantz and Guildenstern to England? Well, basically, the king has ordered Hamlet's death. He realizes that Hamlet's getting a little bit too close to knowing or exposing the whole truth. Again, we have that mouse play that he sort of sets up as a way to expose the king a little bit. He feels that Hamlet is just running amok. He's getting a little bit too radical with some of his behavior and thoughts. So he's like, hey, I need to deal away with this problem real fast, just like I did with his father. Get rid of Daddy Hamlet, and then get rid of the younger Hamlet here, and then I can live, you know, basically happy ever after, running the kingdom with Gertrude. Number 9, which two characters overhear Hamlet to be or not to be speech? And that's basically Polonius and Claudius. And then number 10, what is Claudius doing when Hamlet decides to kill him? Although he waits to do so, Hamlet sees that his uncle is praying. And that's another reason why he sort of delays the killing, because he doesn't want to, you know, kill a man while he's praying. But in a nutshell, this is the study guide. Again, if you were able to go through this, hopefully you took the last couple of weeks and actually tried to answer some of these, so you can go back and sort of check and see how you did compared to what the answers really are. If you got a good bit of these, then right on your end, then you probably won't have to study as much as it gets closer to when this exam opens. If you didn't answer any of these, or you didn't answer and get a lot of them right, then I would say definitely study this study guide, because in a lot of ways, I'm giving you the answers and sort of the questions. I mean, the questions are going to be a little bit, you know, different as it relates, because you do have multiple choice, but in some ways, I'm giving everybody the answers and sort of the setup for the questions. So if you study this, I don't see why you shouldn't do really well on it. The big concern at this point for me is hopefully you got your ProctorU account set up, because you're definitely going to need that. But is how well is everybody doing on their 8-page research paper is really what I'm kind of worried about on that, because I haven't seen too many drafts. So hopefully everybody is doing really well. So I want to show you again. This is your ProctorU emblem. So when you go to your course web page, grade, this is really are for all 5 of my classes. So, you know, give or take, some things might have changed since I made this, but probably hasn't changed so much. So right now it says there's 17 students across the board from my 5 classes that have A's. There's 20, it looks like 28 that have B's. There's 7 that have C's, 4 that has D's, 4 that has F's. Pretty much, I would say the F's and D's, you're probably not going to pass at this point. You do have sort of well, it all depends on where your D is. If your D is kind of high, meaning, you know, you're about 2 or 3 points away from a C, then you sort of have a chance. If your D is sort of midway, 65 or lower, or 64 and lower, you probably are not going to be able to pass so much. And definitely, if you have a 59 or lower, you're probably not going to pass. So if you still need to withdraw from a class, you have until you take the final exam to fill out the paperwork, Laserfish, withdraw. Now, if you go ahead and take the exam and then you try to withdraw because you don't do so well on the exam, then you can't do it that way. You're going to have to take the grade because you already took the final assignment of the course. So think that through. This class is, if you need to take it again, it's generally offered annually in a in-person and online format. You can take it in the spring, which you have another 16 weeks. Depending on who you take it with, though, you may have different stories, poems, and dramas that you may read. You can take it in the summer, where it's a little bit more condensed, meaning you have two months to do everything that we did in 4 months. And then again, you can take it next fall if you have to go that route. I'm hoping that I see some of these C's become B's and B's that become A's. But keep in mind, this is sort of fluid. So your A students can be B's, B's can be C's, some of the D's can be C's, some of the F's can be D's, depending on where it's at. So, I mean, this thing can go a lot of different directions. I tell you, you don't want to get 2 zeros during the next week and a half or so, because like I said in previous emails, depending on where your grade is now, that will guarantee you a lot, 20 points of your overall average and at least 2 letter grades, if not more. So if you had a 90 in the class and got 2 zeros, well, right now, you're probably sitting at a 70. If you had an 80 in the class and got 2 zeros, you're pretty much at a 60. So you got a D. So your B becomes a D and A becomes a C. Again, that's just sort of guesstimation your grade. It could be lower than that. In any event, if you're doing that well, you probably don't want to rack up 2 zeros. And you don't want to do it within the next, 11 days, 12 days, whatever the case may be, because you worked so hard all this time to get that grade to see it disappear in 11 days like that. So please don't do that. What I suggest is that you write your draft when it deals with a research paper, and you send it to Smart Thinking first. After Smart Thinking gives you some feedback, correct that. Now, there's going to be a sort of a time limit because yours is going to be due by 11:59 on December 8th, which is next Thursday, so basically a week. The last day I can really look at drafts will probably be, you know, I would say at the latest by midnight next Tuesday. That's sort of pushing it because I got 4 other classes that are sending research papers in too, and I want to have a little bit of time to give them feedback as well, if possible. If you start sending me drafts on December 7th or earlier in the day on December 8th, I can't guarantee that I'm going to be able to have a good chance to look at them. I might be able to kind of glance. If you had something more focused in mind that you want me to check to make sure that your quotations are correct, I can look at that. But as far as, trying to read 25 papers 7 hours before they were due to give everybody feedback, especially if I got 4 other classes that are sort of trying to do that same thing, it's going to be hard for me to do. That's why, you basically had, since we started the drama unit, which was like the 1st of November, to reach out and get help through Smart Thinking and through me on this particular assignment. Make sure, because the key word is research, you're really going to have 7 sources, or should have 7 sources on your works cited page. One is the actual play itself, because you got a quote from the actual Shakespeare's Hamlet to back up some of your points in your thesis. And the other 6 sources come from your 2 scholarly book sources, 2 scholarly journal articles, and 2 scholarly websites that you should have, basically throughout the month of November, taken the time to retrieve, read, take notes on, because you're going to need to use quotations from those sources as well, because that's where you're going to get your length of 8 pages. If you do not use quotations from the play, or if you do not use quotations from each one of your 6 scholarly sources, you will lose points because you're not following the instructions of what a research paper is. Keyword again, research. Don't put stuff on your works cited page that you do not quote, paraphrase, or summarize in textually or parenthetically throughout the body of your essay. That's a big red flag. It could result of you plagiarizing. That's the other thing too. If you plagiarize this paper, if this is your first offense, you're going to get a 0 automatically. If you've already plagiarized, because there was a few folks that done plagiarized, the first essay or second essay, and this is your last shot. If you get caught doing it again, you're automatically going to get an F, and then we got to go before the board and everything. They're going to decide your fate, whether you stay or go from this college, or you get suspended for a good long while. So please don't do that. Otherwise, if you, like I said, the more sets of eyes that look at your paper, the more help you get on it. Don't wait until the last minute, because again, nobody can afford really bad grades on these things. The better the grade should be overall. Everybody will know their grade, or should know their grade, if you turn stuff in. If you don't turn anything in, it's easy to just put the zeros in there. But everybody should know their grade after 6 p.m. on Wednesday, December 14th. I would say definitely on Thursday, December 15th, whatever your grade shows as your weighted total, that is the grade that's been sent as your official semester grade. As it relates to the extra credit, remember there was some extra credit that I offered at least 2 chances of it back in October. I've already put extra credit where it needs to go. When it relates to dropping one of your lowest quiz or discussion post grades, I've already done that too. So basically, grades are up to date except for the last 2 assignments. So whatever your grade shows as your weighted total, that's your grade currently right now until I can grade the research paper next Thursday and your final exam by 6 p.m. on Monday, December 12th. Otherwise, that's pretty much it. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Either email me, or if you're online now and you have some questions, you can just ask away. I know time is getting sort of short because I'm supposed to get out of here by 6 o'clock. But again, let me know if there's anything I can do to help you. I hope you have a good rest of the week, and good luck on really our last full week of our semester next week. Have a good day.